My first Stephen King novel was Salem's Lot, a very long book full of so many different characters, all inhabitants of this town known as Jerusalem's Lot. It was so detailed, there were so many different personalities, so many different interactions, and a lot of it, the first half or so, is just the characters going on about their daily lives in this sleepy town, but one that has a lot of things going on behind closed doors. The Shining feels like it's set in a completely different world entirely. There's pretty much just one location, the sinister Overlook Hotel, and only three main characters, Mr. and Mrs. Torrance and their young son Danny. It's a lot more of an introverted and introspective book, full of speeches and monologues that only occur in characters' heads. Funnily enough, the overly long descriptive features of Salem's Lot were actually my least favourite things about that book, and I much more enjoy the character interactions from all the dynamic people in the book. So The Shining did take a little getting used to in that sense. There's a sense of adventure in Salem's Lot that is missing from The Shining. This book is stripped out, grim and ominous, like the hotel it's set in. I've seen Stanley Kubrick's movie, I think we all have, and I'm not going to spend the next few minutes comparing the book and the film, but they are both different, and they are both very enjoyable. The Shining pretty much follows Jack Torrance's time as the caretaker of the Overlook Hotel. He has demons, as we all do. He once injured his son in a fit of rage, beat up a student at a teaching post, and is currently keeping a ferocious alcohol addiction at bay. In the hotel, he has a lot of free time, a lot of time to think and reflect, and a lot of time for something to start invading his thoughts, something in the hotel, or the hotel itself, poisoning his mind, using his past experiences to fuel contempt for his wife and son. It's a story of a man, a good man, but a good man with a history, driven mad by dark forces. It's also a coming-of-age story for a young boy who is thrust into a dangerous and evil world where he doesn't have his parents there to bail him out, as his parents are in the same boat as him. And it's also the character study of a woman who forces herself to make the difficult choices for the well-being of her family. There's a lot of scenes of each of the family members fumbling around the hotel, and it's during Jack Torrance's scavenging around of the boiler room and wandering around the suites his transformation takes place. It's a really slow transformation, a gradual one, a delicate one. Like the hotel doesn't want to give itself away too quickly, to scare Jack off just yet, to announce its presence with a bang, but to slowly shift his mindset, to use his frustrations to lure him into ambling along a doomed path, and before he knows it, bang, they've got him. A bit like Salem's Lot, the book's content is relatively standard. What I mean to say is, not much seems to happen for a long time, bar a garnish of supernatural tension here and there. And like the aforementioned book, it all kicks off in the last third or so in a thrilling climax. There are some standout scenes that stick with you, like Danny's standoff with the hedge animals, the hose scene, the chase between father and son, the mallet to the face, and the overall feeling that when Torrance eventually succumbs, it's a good man that has been lost. And therein lies the tragedy. There's also a really heavy scene near the end, where the man in his rage and unrelenting quest for blood has a brief moment of realization and shares a tender but sorrowful moment with his son. King has a great way of making locations feel like characters in of themselves. The Overlook is one creepy place, and it gets a whole lot spookier as the hotel's power builds and builds. There are a lot of standard horror book stuff like ghouls and ghosts, but also a lot of abstract horror elements. And at its core, The Shining tells the horror story of what it's like to live with an alcoholic, and to be an alcoholic. The Shining was an interesting read. I did prefer the more boisterous Salem's Lot, and just out of interest, Kubrick's movie as well. But this book is an entertaining one to pass the time with. I give it a 7 out of 10.